Hello, hello. My name is April Malone, and I'm with Yes, I Work From Home, and this is the podcast. Today I have Ellison Nelson from Connecticut with me. She is with Make Biz Happen. Ellison, I know you're coaching and you're doing all this stuff. Tell us what you do, who you are, and why. Why all the things?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So I am first and foremost a mom and a wife. I am a mom to a little 4-year-old girl, and I am a wife to a wonderful, very supportive husband who was an engineer for a really, really long time. And I started my sort of journey into entrepreneurship when I got pregnant with my daughter. I was working in education, and I knew that it wasn't a place that I could see myself working in and leaving her at home or leaving her with somebody else. So I wanted to make sure that I made moves towards making my dreams happen. So I started a product-based business that I actually do with my husband to this day. It's changed a little bit. It's now a non-for-profit. We actually just have give back shops, and we give back the proceeds. But in the beginning, it was about building our own products. Mm-hmm. And what I found interesting was that a lot of my audience and my customers were moms who wanted to work from home and or had started their businesses from home, and they were struggling. And so they would ask me a lot of times, how did you build a business with no capital, or with a 2-year-old at home and no childcare, very little childcare, with your husband working all day? How did you do that? And so I started a blog along with the products on the same website, talking about entrepreneurship and things. And I was asked, people kept asking me questions. I was asked to speak on it. I was like, I guess I could monetize this. So I started with a group coaching program, just let me see, if this is something I like doing. Turns out I love it. Turns out the educator in me really loves to continue to teach, even if it's not in a classroom environment. And so here we are today. That was a year and a half ago or so. And now I am a business coach, and I help ambitious moms cut the BS in their business so that they can move from side hustle to consistent monthly 4-figure income.
I need that and more.
It's been fun.
Yeah. Now, what kind of educating were you doing?
So I am an organic marketing specialist. I teach women how to build their service-based business online with organic marketing habits and strategies. So that is a lot of, sort of knowing your ideal client, being able to reach them, talk to them, building relationships, building offers that help them move them from point A to point B so that they can have a transformation, just like you will be able to.
Okay, so that's what you're doing now. What kind of education were you in before?
Oh, I was a school counselor before.
Okay.
So I have my school counselor degree, which is very helpful, by the way, when I'm coaching. And so that's been really nice. But my last job was working as a career and a career counselor. And I was creating, programs and curriculum for the entire district for 21st century skill building and things like that.
How long were you doing that?
I did that in 2 different colleges and then at one high school. So total, I did it for about probably 3 or 4 years.
So I'd like to ask people about their journey from moving from their brick and mortar job or corporate or whatever it was to working from home, like struggles and frustrations and things that you've overcome. Just like maybe the physical side of working from home the mindset and the emotional part of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's hard. I was postpartum, so there's a lot of emotional things about that. But no, when I decided to leave my job and realized I was going to work from home, there was a lot of discipline that needed to happen that I didn't realize I didn't really have for myself, that I had for other people, for bosses or my superintendent. I really, really looked up to her. And for a time I thought that maybe that was my route. So I answered to her, and that was great. But answering to myself and disciplining myself to be my own boss, definitely really, really hard at first. I think also, then you go into if you're home working, you can just work and work and work. And, having that boundary of making sure that nope, it's time to stop working, and knowing that if I'm just going to be a mom and just going to work and that's it, and I don't have a third leg to stand on, I'm not going to survive.
Okay.
And that's not success. So sort of learning that was definitely at first like, ooh, okay, that was a slap in the face.
The last interview that I did actually with Eric Twiggs, he is the procrastination prevention partner, and he gave some really good advice. And he's like, you just need to schedule time for yourself and like literally put it on your calendar the same way that you would if you were scheduling an appointment with someone else. And I'm like, wow, I will totally rock up for everyone else. But, you know, if I'll have a goal of doing something today, I'll let myself get distracted. But if I put on my calendar, that I think might really make a difference to be like, no, this is just as important as this interview or this coaching call or this other thing that I needed to do with someone else.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. Just making yourself a priority and having those hard stops. And that's all boundary building. And honestly, the clients that I work with, they have trouble with that. I think a lot of people have trouble with boundary building. We're not necessarily taught that in school and things that, you know, we have to build boundaries. We're taught you have to be here at this time and that's it. And then when we're out in the real world and we have to make that schedule for ourselves, we're like, what do we do?
Yeah. So. And some people, it's easy for them to say yes, yes, yes. And then that's where, you know, you can do too much. And then other people, you know, they're just trying to get by with a bare minimum and really need the kick in the butt. So I think a lot of it has to do with personality and, you know, also just what's happening at home. So what's happening in your home right now?
Right. So what's happening in my home is that my daughter is 4. So with COVID, she is in preschool, but she is only in preschool for a couple of hours every morning. They've kind of got this hard stop of 12 o'clock going on over there because of the COVID precautions. So she is in preschool in the mornings, which is when I typically try to do all of my work with client facing work, let's say. And then I will usually take a couple of hours, probably 2 times a week during the week to make sure that I'm, you know, making sure I'm keeping things going.
Yeah.
So as I've hired a team, it's been a little bit easier to do that, but also I have to manage that team as well. My husband is at home with us full time. So that is helpful. Sort of that built-in other parents is always there kind of thing. So that's been really great, especially because we live far away from our family.
You do too.
I live in Connecticut. Oh, you do? Yeah. Yeah, I live in Connecticut. My parents live in New York. They're not that far away. They're an hour and a half away, but they have jobs and they have lives. And so they can't be here all the time. And especially with the COVID precautions, we're trying to stay as safe as possible. So my mother-in-law travels. That's what she does. So, you know, she's not around too much. So it's really, really helpful to be able to be the kind of parent I want to be and the kind of business owner I want to be when I have my husband out.
Yeah. Our family is more like, if we didn't have kids and we just drove straight through, it'd be a 24-hour drive. But with the kids, it's more like a 30-hour or more drive or a flight. So we're in Arizona and my family's in Minnesota and his parents are in Arkansas and, you know, our extended family is just kind of all over. So yeah, we don't have anyone within 24 to 30 hours of us. So, you know, we've had to.
It's really tough.
This year was going to be the year that my kindergartner was going to go to school. She went to preschool last year. And then this year we have all 3 kids home. So, and you said your husband was an engineer?
That's right. Yep. He's a mechanical engineer.
Okay. But now he's stay-at-home dad or working from home with you?
Yep. Yeah, he's a stay-at-home dad, and he manages the product-based, I mentioned before, we have a product-based side to our business. He manages that. We have some give back shops. So talking to the families that we partner with for the give back shops, managing the products. We have a drop ship model, but we don't have to do inventory or anything, but we still have to manage the shop and take in new designs and things like that. And we're also launching a series of designs for entrepreneurs for my audience, particularly.
What kind of products?
He helps me with that. And he has, we are going to be doing an affirmation card deck. We are going to be just designing a couple of new mugs, a couple of new teas, some stationery items like journals and stickers and things like that. So really excited.
Awesome. And you said you do drop shipping. So that means that someone else mails everything for you. You just only
That's right.
work on the design part and and the customer stuff.
That's right. Yep. And the marketing of it. Yeah.
Had you ever had any of the product in your home, or did you start with that drop shipping model from the very beginning?
We started with it from the very beginning. We were a little confused as to what to do, but we also knew that we were not the kind of people to stay up late at night packaging orders and sending them out. And we're not those people. So we thought, let's try it, see what happens. It was sort of a fluke that it took off. It wasn't something, we ended up hiring a designer for some of the items. And then when COVID hit, we actually ended up moving over to this fundraising give back shop model 100% because my coaching business took off, and it was just a little bit, it just felt like the right thing to do with everything going on.
Okay. So the coaching business is sustaining everything. And then that's like
that's right.
The way that you can share with the community. And
yeah, it's a passion project. It's a way to give back. It's how we started. It's me keeping my foot in the door with products. And, being able to help certain entrepreneurs with their products, things like that. I don't know what the future will hold, but I do love being able to have my own branding, being able to have my own products, and knowing that, we know how to do it. And it's a pretty seamless, now that it's been 2 years we've been doing it, it's pretty seamless.
My first step into the entrepreneurial world was years ago when my second was born. So when he was about, 4 to 6 months, I started an online store, but I was having all of the products shipped to my home. And then I was like the one-stop shop, and we were kind of like putting things together and then mailing them out. And it was pretty intense. That basically went dormant. I still have that inventory, but when I moved out of state and then out of state again, it was just too much to keep with like all of the taxes and things. And I was just like, it's just easier to not sell it right now until I'm like more established. Right. And I'm still,
right.
I don't know if I should. I'm looking up here because I can see some of the product that I have in my office.
Oh.
And so that product at some point might just end up being a giveaway that I do because it was cool stuff. But I, trying to run to the post office. And so you were saying, how do you do it with a 2-year-old and stuff? I did a lot of baby wearing. I had one kid strapped to my front and one kid strapped to my back, and I'd be running to the courthouse and to the post office and everywhere to get my business started.
I love that. Yeah, no, absolutely. I remember those days, like bouncing her while she was in the carrier. Yeah, she was in the little, I had a Tula. And I would like bounce her in that. Yeah. Those were the days.
Oh yeah. We still have a Tula, but, I think that none of the kids can fit anymore. I should pass it on.
Yeah, I know. And I actually was just saying to my husband, I wish I could put her in that, because now at 4, she like runs around like crazy. And I'm like, sometimes I wish I could just put her in that and hold her to me and just do what I have to do.
They have bigger sizes. Like seriously, like we actually did use.
She wouldn't do it.
We had a preschool we had a kinder pack, we've had a Tula, we've had them all. And then now they even make the one that you can wear 2 kids at one time on purpose. I had to have 2 different carriers. I think we had 2 kinder packs, one on front, one on back. But yeah, we like if we go to the zoo or somewhere that was intense with walking, we just bring it along as like a, but then the big kids would want to get in too. They would just be hanging out of it.
Yeah.
All right.
She's so tall that I don't think it would work, but we bought a wagon for things like that.
Yes. So how was that transition for your husband? He was working a full-time job as a mechanical engineer. Like, did he want to come home?
He actually, because of COVID, he lost his job.
Okay.
So he lost his job in April. Yeah. And we decided that he wasn't going to go back after we realized, that no, my business can actually sustain us. And, I wouldn't say we're 100% independent. We're sort of still in the first few steps of it, but, my business can, sustain our lifestyle currently. And, it will just, it will grow from there because of all the benefits that him being home brings us. We're much happier as a family. We spend much more quality time together versus, well, this is the only time we have together, which is super important, especially when you work from home, just knowing like you don't have to spend all the time together, just quality time together. Right. So yeah, that's really important. So it's been really nice. So we decided a couple of months after he lost his job, you don't have to go back. We're just going to keep it the way it is. This is really good.
So in our household, my husband is the one who enjoys cooking and cleaning. Well, I can't say that he enjoys cleaning, but he cares more about cleaning than I do.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And so
my
like
husband, yeah.
oh, sorry.
My husband doesn't, I'm sorry. My husband doesn't clean, doesn't really like to clean. I will say that. He's not really into it. We have always had a really good relationship with the fact that he doesn't mind doing dishes, and I do. I do not like, but he doesn't like doing laundry, and I'm okay with doing laundry. So that has always been really helpful.
Yep.
He cooks every meal though. He feeds all three of us. Nobody would eat if he wasn't here.
Yes. In our family, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, like about that same time when I had the business just starting and the two little ones, they were only 18 months apart. And so it was like having two babies in the house. There was just always kind of like this frustration about the housework, right? And one day I finally sat down and I said, sweetie, if you were to come into the house and you had 30 minutes, you just needed to get some stuff done, what are the first things that you would do first? And he's like, oh, I would do like the general pickup. And I was like, oh, okay, because that's what I would do last. I would always start with the dishes and the laundry. To me, the dishes and the laundry have to get started first because they can get running while I'm doing the other stuff. And he's like, oh yeah, I would do dishes and laundry last because the general pickup. And so just recognizing that we have a different priority if we only have that 30 minutes or something like that. And so basically I am the one that always is starting the laundry. I hate folding. So what I'll do is I'll sort all the clothes, I'll get them through the washer, I'll get them over to the dryer, and then someone else is going to fold them. So sometimes I'll pull them out of the dryer and just throw them on the couch and someone else is going to do it. Sometimes I'll fold the big stuff as it comes out, but or if I'm really feeling generous, I'll just fold things as I take them out. But I hate just folding a whole pile. I would only do that like once a month if I had to, or I'll make the kids do it. My kids are old enough now that, especially they're 9, 8, and 5. And, if my son or my daughter or someone maybe needs a little bit of course correction, I would be like, hey, there's a pile of laundry that you can do before you want to go do this other thing. You got to get this laundry folded. So
that's right. No, I think that's great. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I know having a 4-year-old, I'm not quite there yet, but she does pull out her own clothes from the laundry and brings them into her room. She likes being able to find like, oh, what's mine? What's mine? So that's helpful at least. But yeah, we're very much like, it's an unspoken rule that he'll do the dishes, I'll do the laundry. But there are times where like, if I see the dishwasher is clean, it needs to be unloaded, and I have 5 minutes, I'll do it. And if he sees that the washer needs, the wash needs to be switched over to the dryer, but I'm downstairs working, he'll do it, But like for the most part, it's an unspoken rule that like, that's my job and the dishes are his job. So
and
that's
the 4-year-old can help with the dishes too.
I know
We've got a lot of like metal dishes, like a lot of metal cups and things. And so they go kind of Montessori style. They go on a lower shelf where the kids can reach everything. And so I'll be like, hey, kids, I need to unload the dishwasher right now. I'm opening it up. Come on over before you play your game. We're going to get this done. And I'll, put up the high glass things. I mean, they can too with a chair, but, we can do it in just a minute. If everybody's working together, it's nice.
So nice. Yeah, that's so nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to her getting a little bit older and being able to share some of those chores. But for now, she does what she can. She goes and gets her fork when it's time for her to eat or whatever. She does what she can. She can now fill her water up from she's tall enough to reach the refrigerator water filter thing. So it's about those things too, like being, having the dexterity, being tall enough, all of that. So
celebrate those milestones.
Yes.
She's just turned 5, but when my kids are each about, 2 or 3 years old, when I do switch the laundry over, and we have an older washer dryer. Actually, a friend gave it to us years and years ago. Really old, probably 20, 30 years old now. The dryer, is it's not like a front loading. It's the kind that has the door that comes down and it's just a flat surface. And so I just put all the wet clothes on this door that's hanging open. And I'm like, okay, your job is going to be to push them in. And they just take this job so seriously. I mean, I could have just thrown them in. But
Oh,
I mean,
totally.
they're like, I am really good at this job. And so it's
So cute.
baby steps.
So cute. So yes, baby steps. Yeah, that's so cute. Yeah, I think like her being home, honestly, a lot with COVID, is a blessing in that way. She really does see the like, oh, this is how the bathroom actually stays clean. Like, oh, this is how the laundry gets. This is the steps. You know, she sees it because
Yeah.
when she was at preschool, I used to have her in preschool just a couple of days a week, but it was all day, and she
Uh-huh.
wouldn't. You know, those were the days that I would do those like big
You
projects
get
and
the
things and
cleaning
those big
done. Yeah.
cleaning. Yeah, and she didn't she never saw it, you know. She just like walk into a house and it's clean. And now with COVID, she's like, "Oh, you take out the mop and that's what it's used for and that's how you do." So she's starting to learn a lot just based on that.
Right. Yeah, I totally understand because that's when you get the stuff done. But now, having the kids home, we have the three, and my husband is working from home. His job, I think he has job security for the time being. His team got a little bit smaller for other reasons, and so now they really need each other. But he's able to do it, I
Totally.
would say, 80% from home, and then once every 4 to 8 weeks, he has to go on site to be on call.
Oh, that's not bad.
So
That's nice.
So let's talk a little
That's
bit
really nice.
about your business. You do strategy sessions.
I
And you
do.
help
Yeah,
people like
mindset
really
and
like.
strategy.
So talk about that. You work primarily with
Sure.
entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I do.
Are
I
they
work with
always female
entrepreneurs who
or males and
they're
females?
always they're always female.
Okay. So how did
Yeah.
you narrow down to this specific niche?
You know, I had a really hard time at first doing that. I wanted to do everything, you know, because I do have a network marketing background. I actually speak internationally for a network marketing company. So I have a relationship with network marketing. And I love talking about leadership. When I was, you know, in my college and career readiness days in schools, I was teaching teachers a lot. I was doing a lot of workshops. So I understood leadership and things like that. So it was hard. I was all over the place, but my heart truly is in service-based entrepreneurship. And my message is really for women. A lot of what I do is inspired by the fact that I'm a mother. And not just a parent, but a mother. And a lot of what I do is inspired by, you know, growing up like a little girl, growing up as a little girl and wanting more, but not really being able to reach for those things because of the way that society was and all those things. So I think that's why my message is mostly for women. Now, that's not to say I do have a couple of clients whose husbands like to watch my stuff and they will, it will help them in their own, you know, journeys. I've definitely sat down with some husbands of clients and said, okay, this is how you're going to, you know, set up your e-commerce store, or this is how you're going to get more real estate clients or whatever. I've definitely done that just as a thank you to my clients and just as a perk for working with me. But for the most part, I am women centered. I think a lot of people would agree that my messaging is really just for females, and yeah, it's service based because I really feel that that's the best way to make a transformation for your clients.
So yesterday I was on Facebook and I had joined your Facebook group to check you
Yeah,
out. And
thank you.
you had a live call and I was able to come and watch most of it. And
Yeah.
what are your coaching sessions like designed to do? Like that, do you have multiple
Sure.
different kinds? Like what was that call that I watched?
Yeah, so that was a free coaching that I did. I like to every once in a while do some hot seat. I call it hot seat coaching, where so people
Mm-hmm.
apply and I put somebody. I'll pick somebody from the inquiries and put them in the hot seat, and we'll talk about a certain struggle that they're facing. And it is a lot like my coaching sessions. It's shorter. My coaching sessions are about 45 minutes instead of the half
Mm-hmm.
hour. So it's a little bit shorter. And obviously, she's actually not a current client. So this was me jumping into not really knowing much about her struggles. So there was
Mm-hmm.
definitely some waters navigating, although she's a very active community member in my group. So I
Yeah.
did know a little bit about her business and, you know, how long she's been doing it and things like that. I did know that. So that was great. And I try not to find out too much beforehand because I don't want to be extra prepared. I really do want it to look
Yeah.
like, you know,
Natural.
this is, yeah, very natural. And this is who I am. I'm very much a no BS. I try to get down to, you know, the mindset issues that are happening. Her in particular, she was having trouble getting clients. So we finally realized, when you have trouble getting clients, it's one of three things. It's your ideal client is wrong. The person you're speaking to is not really the person for you. Therefore, your audience could be wrong. Or it can be your messaging, just like what you're saying in your messaging could be attracting the wrong person. What's your marketing like? And is it consistent? And then it can be your offer too. For service-based entrepreneurs, their offers could just be totally off in terms of what the result is. And therefore they might not be speaking clearly about it. So you can kind of see how all three of those categories sort of mesh into each other, and they can affect each other. So she was sort of saying, well, I'm not making enough money because I'm not getting enough consistent clients. And we were able to deduce that she has an ideal client issue. She's not messaging to the correct ideal client. She's probably holding back because she knows that she is not getting the right client. She's unhappy. It doesn't bring her joy. Therefore, she's focusing her efforts on other things. She's opening up a shop, and she's, trying to do all these other things. And it's because she's trying to take focus off the fact that her messaging is not right, and she knows she doesn't have the audience. But it's a vicious cycle. If your messaging isn't right, you're not going to get the audience. Then you're not going to sell your offers. So we sort of, the goal of every coaching session for me is to sort of give my clients an action step to move forward and make a discovery. I mean, whether it's small or not. And I do like to celebrate wins. I made sure that she understood that it's a win to be having these issues less than a year in business. To have had some clients, but also to understand that you need to pivot and niche down a little bit more, and how it can be fear inducing. I'll say it's scary, but it's the right thing to do for where she is in her business. And I think a lot of times a coaching session is about that understanding that, you can, yes, you have a long way to go, but you can still celebrate where you are today, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. And so you did this as kind of a hot seat, and then you've got something similar, a little bit longer for your one-on-ones. And then you also do a group?
Right. Yes, I have a group coaching program. Yeah, it's the group coaching program is called Fast Track to Four Figures. It is a 6-month container, and the ladies that get in there have started a business. They've maybe sold a little bit. They know that what they have to do, it's all service-based businesses. They know what they have is sellable. It can sell. They have social proof, but they haven't been able to make consistent 4-figure monthly income yet, and that would be life-changing for these women. That's who that's for. So in the 6 months, we talk about all of the things that I know you need to hit 4-figure consistent months. We talk about offer. We talk about building relationships, ideal client. So they get a self-study course, but they also get action steps, implementation time, which I know does not usually happen in group coaching courses. They don't usually give you enough time to implement. I don't like to stand in people's way. I'll give you 2 focused modules on this one thing. I'll give you some bonus training, some live videos, some encouragement. You'll get my hands on your business as much as I can. And at the end of the day, this is a support area for you to come back and say, okay, I tried this. It didn't work. What should I do next? Or I tried this. It worked. What do I do now? It works. I got a client. What the hell do I do now? It's a great program.
How many people do you have in this group coaching program? Or will you allow?
So I have 2 cohorts. Yeah, I have 2 cohorts right now. Each cohort is about 5 or 6 people. So there's about 12-ish right now. And right now I'm open for another cohort. And I have a few spots left. So that will be it for 2020. And then I'll open again in 2021. And it's more just, when I feel I can handle another cohort based on my one-to-one workload and my special projects workload. And when I think that, I will sort of mostly do an open enrollment, but I try to kind of batch them into cohorts just to make it easier for them.
I think that's good for people to kind of move through at the same time.
Yeah.
Different reasons.
Yeah, and they only have they're with people who are only, just a couple of months ahead of them at most. Mm-hmm. So sometimes that's good too, that they're watching people that like have gotten through, this really this particularly tough one, like building relationships can be really tough for people, networking, getting themselves visible, right? So when you have people in the group that, they got through those things too, and they can reach down and say, yeah, that was really hard. When Allison first said, we got to go build relationships, I was like, oh my God, this is so scary. but here's what I did, and here's what I'm doing now, and here's, how it worked. And I think it's important for them to sort of see that. So instead of me saying, oh, my clients were, have been helped by this, instead of that, they can actually get, from the horse's mouth.
So I have two questions that are rising up with this one. First of all,
Sure.
4 figures a month isn't that much. Do you have people that are making consistently 5-figure a month?
That's my one-to-one clients will typically do that. So that's sort of like, you're making somewhere between 1 to 9K per month, and you're very consistent with that. And you are paying your bills. You have paid down debt. You are paying your mortgage. You aren't, budgeting at the grocery store anymore. Things like that. You're able to enjoy the finer things. You took your family on a small vacation, things like that, and it's time for the next level. It's time to hire a team. It's time to expand your services. Then that's a great candidate for my one-to-one program. So in my one-to-one program, so we're working on, that consistent 5-figure income for the most part.
Okay. Got it. And then the other question is, you mentioned that you had a past in direct marketing or network marketing. I'm curious if a lot of the women that you're working with are in that networking space, or if they're doing like their own business, something organic that they grew.
It's only service-based that I work with right now. The only other exception to that is that I do have some one-to-one clients who are in the top 1% of their network marketing companies. So if they are, leaders, then I will work with them. And mostly that's about leadership, because at that point, you're not really selling the product anymore. You're managing your team of thousands of people. You're, you're selling the opportunity so that you can grow your team wide. You're helping your team members grow deep. And go wide and things like that. So, and because I have a relationship with a network marketing company where I do trainings for their entire teams, all their teams, that has been something that's just been a nice thing to be able to do and work that muscle as well. So I really enjoy that a lot.
Yeah, that they would definitely be a different species than maybe like the other 99% for sure.
They totally are. Yeah.
And you said that you manage a team. What kind of roles do you have people helping you with? Or what roles do people have on your team?
Yeah, so I do have a podcast manager. I released a podcast in October, so not that long ago. So she is wonderful. So I have her, and she is my lifeline. I do have a general VA as well, and she sort of serves as my Facebook group manager. Everything on Facebook, that's where my ideal client is. So that's where my platform tends to be. And she will be expanding into Instagram as well in the new year. I also have a website designer that she designed my website, and now I keep her on retainer. So that's really helpful for getting the podcast up every week. Anything, that I need, a new program I'm doing, I need a landing page, things like that. So, so that's my team. I did just hire another VA as well. She's a content VA. So she'll be helping me sort of repurpose content as I've brought on the podcast and wanting to nurture my audience in that way. So she's sort of guiding me along that route.
Awesome. So that's 4 people. And then you said your husband is also helping you in ways. How does he help you with this side of your business?
So he doesn't help me so much with the service-based, the coaching side of my business. When there's a technical issue, my computer, my computer decides to sometimes freeze up. He's there. That's his thing. He has picked out equipment for me that I otherwise don't have the time to research. My webcam, he picked out my microphone, my AirPods. He's picked these things out. He will fix anything going on. He's designed my office. The back here, that's a big sticker Yeah, so it's just a big sticker we got from Amazon. And so he'll put that up. He's very much involved in that way. Anytime I need research done on a particular tech thing, he's there. And of course, moral support is huge. I mean, my clients, their biggest thing is they need to manage their mind. But I'm noticing, especially as I level up to being a 6-figure business owner, everybody needs to manage their mind. Everybody needs to manage it. It's a big deal. And honestly, having his support is huge. So, if he could get paid for that, he would probably there probably wouldn't be a salary that you could even put on that, because having his support is just so amazing. So
I do hear a lot of women who are, in the entrepreneurial space who, like you, have been able to retire their husband, more or less,
right,
bring them home and be part of the business. And then you got the other set who they're like, well, my husband doesn't really believe that, this is going to really work, and not feeling supported and actually sometimes discouraged with, the people in their life kind of. And I can kind of understand both. Like when I did my online store, that was working. It was selling. And this business, I have things in motion that we're going to be launching, in the next few weeks even. But in the meantime, it's kind of a scary place to be sometimes. And, you really have to have some trust as far as like, is this going to work? Or are you just going to like drain our resources?
Yeah. And actually you nailed it on the head. Trust is exactly what needs to happen. I deal with this a lot also, especially when it comes to selling my group coaching program, because that's for the woman who, has sort of made like somewhere between $0 and $500 in their business and knows that they can make it more, but it's just not happening. And so maybe they've been struggling for months or years. And so their spouse is kind of like, now you want to pay in, to something, you want to spend money on something that you haven't been making anything. And the thing is like when the trust, number one, absolutely. And having the belief that you can, live the life that you want to live, and that you can have that support. And then the other thing also is just remembering that this is an investment. Every time you spend time or money on your business, you are investing. And you hope that you will get the ROI, right? The return on investment. You hope that that's the case. Now, what sometimes the spouses don't understand is that their wife or their partner, who's the one in business, is spending a lot of time. And if they're not spending money, then they're spending time. And sometimes the ROI is not as high because when you have little kids or when, you have just a few hours a week because your husband works full time, and you've got that quality, you want that quality time. Time is just as important. I mean, you have to decide you're still taking a risk. You're still rolling the dice in terms of what the investment is. And if you can look at it as, okay, yes, I'm investing money or I'm investing time and I will get it back. And this is how, and this is my action plan. And I believe and trust that I can do that. Then I think it's better. But I know that a lot of people don't really have that conversation. They kind of just look at the hard numbers and they say, well, it's not in my bank account, therefore I can't do it. And it's like, it's just not that way. I mean, I'm not saying you have to spend money. You always have to spend money, but if you don't invest in your business at a higher level, then you're just going to stay small.
And I know that there is, not everyone will be successful. Not every single small business is going to, grow into this 7-figure thing,
That's
empire.
It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody.
No. We both just recently launched a podcast, and I have an interview coming up, and I was talking with this guy I was scheduling with, and I knew that he launched a podcast recently, and I asked him how it was going, and he's like, well, we did 9 episodes, and then I stopped. And they call that pod fade. You start a podcast.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Pod fade, yeah.
I like it.
And I know you're right around that same point too. And I was just a few weeks ago, and now I think you're going to be, I don't know. I don't want to say the episode number, but we're getting close to 20 right now.
Great.
And I'm like, I think we have momentum, but there's a lot more work to this than I thought. Even with
so
like light editing, I do have, I have a VA who's primarily helping me with my podcast right now. And then I ended up spending a lot of time trying to get that transcript. And I know you said your podcast manager just does it all. And I saw your transcript, and it looked great. And then you talked about wanting to it sounded like you wanted to try to repurpose. So your content editor will be helping you repurpose. How will you do that? Because I'm going to have, these transcripts, when you put them out, they're like 20-page documents. It's 45 minutes to an hour of conversation. And there's so much gold in here. But then if you wanted to glean it, like, are you going to try to like turn a blog into, or I can't even talk. Are you going to try to make a blog out of this?
Yeah, it exists as a blog on my website, technically. That's how my website manager, girl, extraordinaire, human, wonderful person, does it. And yes, the content VA will help me. She's really going to help me figure out, okay, you've got this, you're offering this, you're offering this, you're offering this. What are you going to talk about? And yes, how are we going to, understanding that I have put a lot of content out there and not repurposed it the way that I should because I don't have the time. So she's more going into my Facebook group and taking my lives and repurposing them, transcribing them almost, but just taking out bits and pieces. Same thing with the podcast. She'll look at the transcript and she'll sort of take out bits and pieces. Before I will go into a month of, before I go into a month of business, I will know what content I'm putting out there. Eventually I'll start to get ahead and I'll know what I'm putting out there. And then she'll know sort of, okay, like what am I repurposing and all of that. Because I have like a year at least of live videos in my Facebook group that I haven't necessarily repurposed. Those can work in as emails as well. So, an Instagram posts, which is Instagram's sort of my secondary platform. It's all just repurposed content, except for the stories where, I just talk about what's in my essential oil diffuser and like what my dog is doing. Like I'm so random on stories. It's unbelievable. And so I hardly ever say that.
I haven't done a single one. I will.
Oh, really? Oh, they're fun. I mean, they're fun, but like sometimes I just don't know. Like we get HelloFresh. And sometimes I'll take a picture of like what our HelloFresh meal is or something. Or what new shirt I got, or like, if I got like something in the mail. I mean, if my dog looks cute, it's all over the place. But so she's helping me sort of like organize that and make sure I understand like that when I put a piece of content out there, it's not just going to live as that piece. It can break up. And, I will say that my podcasts are not nearly as long. When I have a guest on, maybe it's a little bit longer, but I am very much like a no BS. I draw the straightest, shortest line from you to the money. Therefore, we don't have a lot of time. And so, my podcast episodes tend to be somewhere between 8 and 15 or 20 minutes long.
Okay, and I'm all about the conversation. I like to really dig in there. So so you're just really straightforward and get it to the point, and let's make you some money.
When I'm by myself, but like if I have a guest I just had a body confidence coach on. Her episode will be coming up soon, and so that was great. Body confidence. I talk about body confidence all day. I'll talk to you all day. That ended up being the longest podcast episode that I've had so far. So I think with another person, I'm very happy to just continue chatting. And I did want the podcast I wanted to make sure the podcast was about real and raw conversations about either things that like sort of grind your gears about the online business world, or what you're looking to change, and not necessarily a spotlight on someone's business. So, although of course that will happen naturally, it's more of a natural conversation of like, okay, we're peers in this space. What do we not like? What do we wish people knew? And how can we be like real and raw about this conversation right now?
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, I know we only have a few minutes left, and I had a couple other questions I wanted to ask you. I like to ask people about their, how many hours were you working when you were in your brick and mortar, your schools, your counseling position? And then how many hours are you working now?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I was one of those people that I still have a crazy strong work ethic. So I didn't have a child yet. I didn't have a family really. So I would stay at work, forever. I mean, and then I checked my email from home. It must have been a contract 40 hours. It must have been more like 50 or 60. I also traveled for them, and I did speaking engagements around the country for them, my last school. So, when you add all that in, I mean, it had to have probably been like 50 to 60 hours a week. And with my business now, it's definitely closer to 30. I would say sometimes maybe 40, but it's probably closer to 30. And I would like to get it down to like 20, 25. But of course, that's my team, helping and all that. So, yeah.
And as you're bringing new people on, you'll be able to relinquish some of these tasks
I think so. Yeah, I think so. It's all
Delegate.
still new. It's new to me and it's new to them. Some of them it's not new to, so that they know what they're doing. They're experts, but we're new to working together. So,
Yeah.
and I'm learning a lot too. I'm learning a lot about leadership and about, delegating and
Mhm.
outsourcing things and letting go and what can I automate? What can I let them automate? And,
Yeah.
being okay when there's a mistake that happens and
Yep.
really understanding that, like, Allison, you're doing this task right now and you really don't like doing it. It really takes you away
Hmm.
from what you want to do and
Yep.
it burns you out and it makes you upset. So understanding that, like, okay, that's got to go on the list of like, who can do this task? Which one of the
Yeah.
four ladies is
Right.
going to be lucky enough to do?
To take this off my plate.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
training them too, teaching them to do it. So,
It takes time, and it takes
mhm,
time to build that
it does.
relationship where you feel like you can, again, like we talked about earlier,
Right.
trust that they
Right.
can, do how you would have
Right.
done it, or close to at least. And one more question I
Absolutely.
usually ask everyone is, do you have
Mhm.
any, not only digital, but maybe also physical things that you use that have just made your business a little bit better or made that transition to working from home a little easier for you?
Yeah. I think so. Trello is something I use every day. And it's a great, if anybody listening has never heard of it, it's like sticky notes on a wall, but in a digital sense.
Hmm.
And so it's great. I actually have a Trello expert in my group coaching program right now.
Awesome.
And so I've definitely gleaned some advice from her every once in a while.
Hmm.
But I have a Trello board for every one of my clients, which is great because I'm able to put action steps in there or coaching notes. If I want to give them a resource, like a little ebook I made or a video I created for them or something, that I can put it in the Trello board and they have it forever. It's their personal board. It's private.
Hmm.
It's also been very helpful to me to be able to communicate with the members of my team. My whole podcast is on a Trello board. And
Okay.
so
Yep.
everybody can kind of be on that Trello board and pick from what they need. And that's been great. And what's nice about being on the go is that there's an app for Trello. So I even use it in my personal. I just set up a Trello board for holiday gifts for 2020 because I want to stay on
Nice.
track of, like, yeah, when Black Friday hits, I want to know, okay, is this particular thing I'm buying, is this on sale? Like, what kind of sale? Should I wait till Cyber Monday? What's going on? And, like, I don't want to overbuy. I don't want things coming to the house and, like, I don't know who I bought that for, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. So I have used Trello in the limited sense, but never to that extent. And I've heard of some
yeah,
people that
yeah.
have, some people, I think I interviewed a woman 2 days ago or 2 episodes ago who said that she has moved from Trello to Basecamp to have, so there's
Oh, interesting.
some people, there's just different ways that you can manage things and have that communication. But I can
Totally.
definitely see why that would work. We are almost out of
Totally.
time, but I usually ask if you
Yeah.
have anything that you would like to just, we're working with entrepreneurs and employees. Is there anything that you've
Right.
learned along the way or any advice that you want to give that would just help people who are working from home for the first time or who want to improve their work from home situation?
Sure. Yeah. So I think building habits is the best way to make sure that you keep your mind steady and you keep your work, flowing. It's a consistency thing. So there's a really great book called Atomic Habits, that really, and I don't have the author's name off the top of my head right now, but
I'll find it.
yeah, it's a great, great book. And whether you're an employee or you're your own boss, it's a great book to understanding how you can build habits, how you can build a morning routine, how you can build an evening routine, how you can take a lunch break, like all of these things, and how they are so helpful to your productivity and really that success that you want. I read a book a long time ago. It was by Ariana Huffington, and she suggested that a lot of people think success is two-legged. It's money and it's power. But actually there's a third leg. And that third leg is your life. It's who you want to be. It's your creativity. It's your family. It's your sleep. It's taking care of yourself. It's that third leg is also a part of, what success should be like. So I think building habits is really helps those other two legs really stand nicely. The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy is also a really great book. So I would suggest, if you're having trouble building habits, to read those books, dive into those resources and make sure that you are building them, because this is your life. We don't want our lives. Sometimes when we're working at home, we're like, oh, it's Friday already. It was just Tuesday. I'm still sitting in the same spot. We want our life to actually happen too. We don't want our weeks to just go by. So building in habits is one way to do that. So.
Thank you for the recommendations. I'll make sure to put those into the show notes.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, Allison. Thank you. This has been a pleasure. I appreciate
Thank
everything that you talked
you.
about with me and kind of going through that conversation.
Yeah, that was fun.
Good. All right. Well, this is April Malone. I'm with Yes, I Work From Home, and I'm with Allison Nelson. Thank you so much, Allison. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, April. Yep. See you next time.